Hi, Diana. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes, oh my gosh, you have such an impressive story. My goal here in the show is always to share inspirational stories, and boy, do you have one. So I'm super excited for you to tell us more about who you are, what you do, what you've built. It's definitely very empowering. So take it away.
Awesome. So, my name's Diana Khan. I am a Maryland lawyer, but before I was a Maryland lawyer, I was always a Maryland lawyer, but I also have three kids. I have a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old. Um, while I run five businesses. So, and they're not, what I call mediocre businesses. They're actually pretty big. I have a staff of almost 80 between all of them. I own a law firm, a title company, a real estate brokerage, a property management company, and a construction company. My husband actually handles a lot of the property management and the construction. I handle the back office, but we have built all this up probably in the course of 5 to 6 years. But really, in the last year, we went from having two employees to almost 80. So we have jump tracked. The American Bar Association just called me top lawyer in the country under the age of 40. And I, outside of that, try to be a good mom. So tons going on. I struggled a lot with finding how to be comfortable with being all of them. So halfway through my career, I started pivoting a little bit to talk to women.
Mm.
And that came from my own journey and struggling with some things as a parent, and then realizing that I think women, we tend to get in our own way. We tend to get in our own way with accomplishments or feeling like we're not enough in every moment. So I now try to also speak to women and try to empower them. So this year I had a goal of speaking huh, I think I had a goal to speak in 50 places. I've spoken to over 130 people, different venues. I spoke with Martha Stewart, with Robin Azan, and also had a speaking engagement with Ryan Serhant, who's a real estate broker, and that Netflix show that I've never watched. So it kind of really skyrocketing. It's great.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that is so inspirational. I love that. And so, based on the ages of your kids and what you were talking about, the timeline, you started expanding and going down the route that you are right now after becoming a mom. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's actually really funny. If you talk to my friends who know me outside of a professional setting, they always say, I always thought you were a stay-at-home mom.
Hmm.
And I ran my own businesses, but I was more of the in the background. So I always had a business partner. I did a lot of the administrative work. I always felt like I couldn't be in the spotlight, or maybe I was plus size. So I always kind of partnered with other people. And at least for my struggle, it was always feeling like I needed somebody there, and I was sort of propping them up. And when I had kids, very slowly but surely, I realized that really everybody has the same struggles.
Yeah.
And you just have to be uncomfortable. You have to lean into it. And I started doing that.
Oh my gosh, it's so interesting because for many, become a mom and it's like, now I'm going to stop everything, which is fine. Everyone is entitled to do what their journey calls them to do. But for women like us, it's having kids that awakens something inside of us. And what you said, especially of understanding that we all have similar struggles, so why not empower
Yeah.
each other, right? And talk about it instead of pretending like it's not there. I love that so much. But I'm super interested in hearing about the expansion. Well, one thing that you mentioned was in the last year, you went from two employees to 80. That is a big jump. And is it because you expanded with the other businesses? Tell me more about the first one and then adding on. I'm curious.
Yeah, so my mom actually got really sick a couple years ago. She got sick in 2022. I had a newborn, and I had always just kind of managed a lot of stuff. And I just, I think I struggled with what everybody struggles with, which is trying to do everything right and trying to do it the best we can. And one of the, I think, realizations that I had is during my own journey as my mom was sick, is that I had to make a lot of hard choices about my relationship with my mom and what I showed my kids. And one of that conversations was when my mom was really sick, I realized that my kids were watching me and I needed to reflect better for them. And when I started going through that experience, I started pushing myself more to be out uncomfortable, pushing myself more to say things like, well, I used to give myself reasons on why I can't do X, whether or not it be I can't do X because I've got a newborn at home, to, well, why can't I? There's other women who have newborns And, we are just kind of holding ourselves back. And that was a really big change for me. And so I started pushing myself through a lot of this discomfort to market myself, throw money at myself, whatever. Um, but then what happened was last year, I kid you not, I can't even make this story up. It was a Thursday. I was working overtime. I was trying to do everything perfectly. I was trying to do it all by myself. And I got an email from my kids' school that they had for summer camp. Every single day, it was a dress up day. And I don't know why I have gone through many dress up days, but now having three kids at the same school, I, I fell down to the ground and I was just like, I can't. I was like, I can't do this. I cannot do this. I was like, and I did something crazy, which if you know me really well, it's what I'm known for. I text my babysitter and I said, do you know anybody looking for work? And she said, one of my friends is working at a bar and she needs work. And I said, can she start tomorrow at $20 an hour? Didn't even meet her, didn't talk to her, nothing. Um, my husband was like, what are you doing? And I was like, listen, I've done the math, right? I did the math, 90 days at $20 an hour. That's all we need just to get through the hump. And I was like, we can afford that out of our savings. We could just do it. And then I realized the next day when she started, I was like, what is she going to do? I run a law firm, I run all these companies. She's going to answer phones because that's what you're supposed to do. And then I realized why I'm good at phones. That's where I convert business. So I started sort of breaking the mold and I started making her do things that I really didn't want to do. So she renewed my kid's passport. She ordered their costumes. She helped sort out my email and organizational structures. And then I realized that, 10 days in, I had a lot more time and I was making more money because I was able to call back things and I was prioritizing them. So once I kind of realized that, I adopted this 90-day model where if you can afford it for 90 days, whether or not it's from your savings account or your checking account, try it for 90 days, just like you would at the gym. 30 days in, if it's not doing something for you, start winding it down.
Yeah.
But if you see that it's working, start winding it up. And I quickly found that having more people and working and sort of not really it actually works. It works really well because as long as you're not putting people where they're not meant to be, it can be a very effective process. Does that employee still work for me? No. Do I have other employees? Absolutely. Do I have high turnover rate because I do things very differently? Yes. The people who work for me do they absolutely love working for me? I'd like to say yes. Just, after they get through the first 90 days.
That's the cutoff period to know if they're qualified. But that makes a lot of sense because first of all, I love that you're saying it's a trial, right? You have to be willing to see if it's going to work, but then also realizing that once you have a process and you find somebody that's in the good position,
Mhm.
it'll bring you back some time, which will make you more money because you're going to be doing the things that you're meant to be doing as opposed to using
Right.
the time to do things that somebody else can do. So that's how folks you go from 2 to 80 employees and thriving. I love that story. Tell me more about the other businesses and how you branched off and understood the
Yeah.
power of starting other businesses and what they are.
So you know, I think the problem with business owners, and this is just my take, I'm sure somebody would disagree, is that regardless whether or not you own a law firm or you own a contracting company, at the end of the day, you are still working 9 to 5. When you stop working, the money kind of stops. And
Yeah.
then I started focusing a little bit more about generational wealth because I'm that first generation in the United States woman. My parents came here from a Slavic country that was communist. They were very well off here, there. My mom was a doctor, so was my dad. It was a whole thing. They moved here, were piss broke, and basically worked at a pizza store to make sure that I did really well. And that gives you the perspective that really what you work for can go that quickly.
Mm,
And I sort of realized that if I have a law firm, the moment I run out of clients,
mm,
I'm probably not going to have money. So then I started focusing on why isn't generational wealth something that we're focusing on and how does it grow? And for me, that aspect of it, and it's not for everybody, some people invest. I actually invest in real estate. So I started looking into how do I do house flipping? How do I house hack? How do I do, purchase residential income and I hold them for long periods of time? And I did the math that if I owned 60 properties of my own, and I bought them between the ages of 30 to 40. By the time I'm 50, I could retire and have the same income that I'm making at my law firm without actually working. Because at that point, right now, those residential properties don't necessarily cover more than the mortgage with the rent that's being paid. There's quite a lot of headaches, but eventually there's going to be less mortgage and more payoff.
Yeah.
So I've pivoted my law firm and then the rest of my companies to focus on helping women grow generational wealth, protect generational wealth. So my law firm focuses a lot on how do I start a business? How do I have succession planning in place? How do I protect my kids? How do I protect my wealth? But also, if you want to get into real estate, which is where my other niche is, we have all of the resources in place, whether or not you're local to Maryland or you're trying to do something in Texas. We do a lot of just mentorship. And this is how you can go from, whether or not you're at one house or 100, we can sort of help you do the same trajectory. And then one thing leads to another. We sort of vertically built it out. So now we are a family name to a family. We're not just, help you with a will and move on or help you with a
Mm,
trust.
that's amazing.
Um, like we stay with you. If you buy a house, chances are you're going to have a baby. You're going to maybe, you're either downsizing or upsizing. And with that comes renovations, property management. It comes with divorces. It comes with estate planning. It comes with all of that. So now we've sort of vertically integrated across the board. And I've now created a business where I can sit down with my kids at home and know that I have multiple businesses with multiple flow of income where I'm not relying on just one company's well-being.
Oh, that is so smart because all these different areas are interconnected. And like you said, you get to guide or to walk alongside your client regardless of the direction that they're going because the multiple businesses that you have really encompass that. What was because you mentioned, Paul, I realized if I stop having clients that I'm going to stop making money. What was the moment was there a specific thing that facilitated you getting there? You mentioned your mom. Did it
Mhm.
have anything to do with her or what was it?
Yeah. So I owned a couple of the real estate stuff, but I was making what I consider, middle income, like middle class. Like it wasn't bad, it wasn't good. It was just whatever it was. And I was paying my bills and I was happy. But then my mom got really sick and she went to Cancun and came back. And now we know that she had gotten a flesh-eating, skin-eating bacteria in her leg, which overnight it turned into septic shock, multiple organ failure. It turned into ICU stay for 6 months. It turned into 12 surgeries, life support, not being awake. I have three kids. One of them is a newborn during a time where I'm driving to an ICU and there's a formula shortage.
Mm.
Um, there's COVID and there's all of these things. And then all of a sudden, my dad, who my mom is his primary caretaker, also needed help. So all of a sudden, I went from juggling just everything to now juggling 10 times more. And then that's when I realized I had to make the decision where I remember I text my business partners that evening when I had a feeling that that she had been taken by the hospital and I had a feeling that this might be it for her. I text my business partners and I was like, I don't know what's next, but I will not be working. And I'm lucky enough that I had business partners that continue to pay me out and support me through 6 months. But I also realized that that's not, I built those relationships over the course of a loyalty that most people don't have in their businesses. And I have thought very much on repeat, well, what if I had only had myself as my own employee? Or what if I didn't have somebody who was loyal? Or what if, my business partners didn't understand? And the truth is, they probably would have run out of understanding if it was a longer process or if it wasn't my own dynamic. And that's when I realized, really, as women, we need to buy our own flowers, for lack of a better word. Miley Cyrus was listening, I was
I
listening to her
know.
this morning. So,
That is very true, which goes back to what you said. You could use hard times as an excuse, right? I have a newborn. Oops, can't do it anymore. Or you could be like, why not? And find a way of going about it. So what would you say? And I love the thought process of I need to build a legacy and not just focus on the income for the next month is I need to create something because you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. What is your
right.
advice for women that, maybe are not even at the stage where they have a successful business and, like you said, a partner where I can take a break because life happened? Um, what would you say to somebody in that situation, I guess, that needs to buy their own flowers? How can they find that strength and and create their own wealth, create their own reality.
So to me, it's two things. The first is you have to realize no one knows what they're doing.
Mm,
And that's you are your own worst enemy, I think is a good way to say it. I myself am plus size, and I know this is yeah, I'm not wearing a long sleeve shirt right now because it's hot in our office. And a couple years ago, I used to wear long sleeve shirts and be like, I can't possibly anything. People can't see my arms, right? So, of course, as humans, we want to work through those issues, and I was working through them. But this year, I did a lot of TV appearances.
mm,
And I remember the first time I did a TV appearance, I noticed myself wearing long sleeve shirts on the 3 or 4 outfits that I did. And then I could have just gone and appeared on TV and worn the long sleeve shirt, and it would have been the same. But I purposely made myself wear short sleeve. And the reason being is because I told my husband, if somebody watches me on TV and they say, wow, her arms are big, I'm still on TV.
mhm.
I'm still on TV. Like you're watching me on the comfort of your own home. And I think that should speak to women. Like we
Yeah,
as humans tend to be our worst enemies and think like this person will do it better than me,
yeah.
or I don't know how to do it. But the truth is, you could do it. You could do it. Maybe you don't do it that great, but you got to try. And I think a lot of us aren't trying enough. And money is always an obstacle. Things are always an obstacle. There's always obstacles. And you have to get creative with the obstacles you have. But some of us are keeping ourselves in our own little box and we're not even thinking about around the circumvention of those obstacles.
Mhm.
And if I had to give second advice is figure out which balls are glass and which ones are plastic.
Mhm.
That's everybody juggles a lot of balls. Every single person does. A couple years ago, I had severe PPA with my first child, and I was postpartum anxiety, and I was very stressed about everything. I forgot to get my daughter a Halloween costume this year, and my boys had matching outfits, and my daughter, like, I ordered it too late. It didn't get there on time. And a couple years ago, this would have been like, I am the worst mother in the world.
Mhm.
I would have been done. I took a piece of paper, I made her into paper. I literally, her costume was paper,
Hmm.
and she had a piece, she said paper, and then I put my boys, one of them had aluminum foil, so I made him rock, and then I made the other one scissors, and I just got very creative with it and put signs on it, and I just was like, "You're rock, paper, scissors."
That is very
And
creative for three.
but a couple years ago, I would have just been so focused
Yeah,
on like how I didn't deliver. And this time, instead of even, I would have never gotten to the rock, paper, scissors creative idea because I would have just been like, I'm not a good mom and I should have done this. And I would have, like, I would have been, let me go to Party City. Meanwhile, this time I was like, you know what? You're going to eat a lot of candy. We're going to have fun. I'm
yeah,
taking off for 3 hours. It's fine. And I noticed that, like, by leading that way, you're really leading everybody else around you. So,
yes,
at least for my own personal issues, I had to really stop putting myself down. And it's just whenever you have that feeling deep inside you that you're not doing enough or
yeah.
you're not doing well enough, is it a glass or a plastic ball?
Mhm.
Is
Oh,
it a glass or a plastic ball?
yeah. I love that. So essentially, get out of your own way and then be resourceful. But you cannot be resourceful if you're standing in your own way and wallowing in the failure
Yeah,
or whatever it is, right? And it starts with with that thought process in your mind. I love that. Let's talk a little bit more about the estate planning and how you guide women through that,
sure.
since that is such an important piece of creating that legacy and the financial freedom. How do you recommend women get started? I know you have lots of resources on your website as well.
We do. Yeah. So I tell women that we need to get out of the idea that trusts are for rich people.
Mm,
And as women, we should have trusts, regardless, how much money you have. And most people don't even know what they are because when I was growing up, a trust fund was just something that, rich people had, your trust fund
yeah.
baby. And in my very 2 minute spiel and a very quick Zoom, I tell people that trusts really are a way for you to protect your wealth. So if I was to explain this in the equivalent of a backpack, we're all carrying backpacks around. It's got our personal items, our house, our car, everything you own fits in a backpack, right? When you pass away or something unexpected happens, that backpack drops to the floor. Your life continues. You are no longer alive, but your bills continue, your kids are around. If you don't have a trust or you just have a will or you don't have anything at all, nobody can touch that bag, open it to continue to pay your bills or do anything until they unwind your life. So unwinding your life is literally going to the courthouse and getting permission from a third party to open this bag and itemize it and pay taxes and all these things, all while your family is grieving. What a trust essentially is you come to a lawyer and you say, let me build a brand new backpack today that's separate from what I was born with. And this backpack doesn't belong to me, it belongs to my children.
Mm.
And it belongs to them. It's a gift that I'm giving to them at some point in the future when something unexpected happens to me. When this unexpected thing happens, they just get it. They don't pay taxes, they avoid probate completely, and I can put in specific instructions. So just to be mindful of specific instructions, if I was to die right now with just the will, my children would inherit everything, and whoever's the guardian of my children would decide how that money is spent.
Mm.
With a trust, I have specific provisions that say that until the age of 21, whatever I die with, 10% of my wealth is to be used for their health, safety, and wellness. That's it. And then from the age of 21 to 26, 20% is to be used for their education. If they don't want an education, that's fine. Just you're not using my money for anything else.
Mhm.
And then from 25 to 35, an additional 20% is used for their investments. So they can buy a property as long as they qualify for the loan first without my money. So now, not only have I put in specific instructions, not only have I grown my wealth because I'm avoiding estate taxes and I'm avoiding all of this, I'm helping my family with grief. And I've now protected whatever I've built for my kids, that whatever my intentions are is going to follow them through life, even if I pass away unexpectedly.
Mm. Oh my gosh. And it's such a way of showing how you care for your family as well, because whenever somebody passes away, it becomes a lot of a headache depending on what is left behind of having to deal with things. So if you're being proactive and looking at it ahead of time, you are taking care of your family in so many ways. So I love that. And so you do have some free resources that people can, because you said so many awesome things in terms of the provisions and things that you can have in there that obviously having expert help will be needed.
Yes. I publish lots of books on everything from, some of the coaching and mentorship that I do to women for estate planning. And then also all of that is on my website. I've got a bunch of TV segments. I've got a lot of talking opportunities. And we have like a bunch of resources for women who are looking to start their first business or doing estate planning, where I break it down in a way that's not legalese, but just human.
Wonderful. So I'll make sure and have those links over there and in the show notes. And before I ask you how people can connect with you on social media, I like to ask what I say is my $1 million question for all my
Uh-oh.
guests. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Diana, what is an empowered woman then?
An empowered woman is a woman who lives her life comfortably with every decision,
Hmm.
regardless of the obstacles or limitations that they've got.
Beautiful, very succinct and to the point. I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This was wonderful. What an inspirational story. So many lessons, so many nuggets there. How can people connect with you?
I actually am insane and give my cell phone number out on all podcasts. So my cell number is 443-739-6724. That is my actual cell phone number. If you text me, I will reply happily. So taking away the red tape.
Amazing. I love it. So people take advantage of it. And
I'm sure I have social media links. I don't know what they are. I'm sure you'll tag them. So
yes,
if
I'll
you don't
definitely
feel like bothering me on text message, just click the links.
go check out everything in the show notes. Well, Diana, thank you so much. I appreciate all that you are doing in empowering women, obviously, and thank you for being on the show.
Of course, thank you for having me.